All right, it's halftime. Welcome to Locked In. We are doing our picks for the week. Once again, we will each be picking three player props on Underdog. Make sure you use promo code nonsense if you're playing along with us. And we will pick three on our own, and then we will each pick one lock for the week to solidify our group ticket. So this week, Vishaal, why don't you kick us off? What do you got?
All right, I'm going to start with the under on the rushing yards for Mark Ingram, under 39 and a half rushing yards. Obviously, last week was kind of crazy with Houston getting such a big lead that the game script just kind of dictated that he got so many carries, ended up getting 26 carries, which was insane to begin with. That's just not going to be the case this week. They're playing the Browns. They're 12.5-point underdogs. There's just going to be no room for Mark Ingram in this game because he has no utilization in the passing game, and they're not just going to be able to hand in the ball for 2 or 3 yards every play when they're down by so much. So he's going to have a very, very minimal role in this game that's what I expect. So I'm going to take the under on his rushing yards.
We talked about that on the show last night as well. Like Mark Ingram, remember, was kind of like the forgotten guy on the roster there. How the debate was, oh, it's David Johnson's job. Wait, maybe it's Philip Lindsay's job. Mm-hmm. And then we come into week one and it's Mark Ingram that actually dominates the touches. And Philip Lindsay barely touched the field. So you would think if he was actually the lead back, like they kept trying to tell us, that he would have had more involvement in the game, but that just wasn't the way it went. And I totally agree here. Like David Johnson got a ton of snaps. He was on the field for all the passing plays, as few of them as there were. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be involved if they're chasing points as they should be. And Mark Ingram, I think at best, is splitting carries with Philip Lindsay. So yeah, I'm with you there on the under.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll go with over 56.5 receiving yards for Cortland Sutton. He obviously didn't have a very good game last week, one catch for like 14 yards, but he was going against a solid Giants defense with a good secondary. This week he's going up against the Jacksonville defense that got torched by Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cooks last week. So I think there's going to be a lot more opportunities for Sutton. Plus, Jerry Jeudy is going to be missing a few weeks with his ankle injury. So there's going to be a void that Sutton can fill. And he's, from what we saw in the preseason, he looks like he's pretty much at least 90% back from his injury. He looked really good. And I think, maybe he's just slowing his way back into the season. But he should be good to go for this weekend, 100%. And he'll have a good matchup against a pretty weak Jaguars defense.
Yeah.
Go Broncos.
And then we'll finish this off with over 49.5 receiving yards for Chase Claypool. He's got a good matchup against the Raiders defense that their front seven looked really good on Monday night, but their secondary kind of got torched for a bunch of big plays for Marquise Brown and Sammy Watkins. And I think Chase Claypool will be that guy for Pittsburgh's offense. I mean, all it takes is one deep bomb and he can get 30, 40 yards right off of that. So I don't think it's going to be too difficult for him to hit this number. I'll take over 49.5 receiving yards for Chase Claypool.
Yeah, and I think that might be the heart attack of this card for you here, because it could be a situation like you were saying where Claypool has like maybe 1 or 2 catches for like 12 yards, and then all of a sudden we're in the fourth quarter and he makes a 60-yard reception and hits that over for you and cashes it. So
yeah, absolutely. But if there's anybody to do it, it's him against this defense.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mason, what do you got?
All right. So I think right off the bat, we've got Damian Harris. So the focus right now, in all the circles is that Damian Harris, choked up the game late for them with that fumble. But that's not what we need to focus on. We need to focus on that our guy, Jason Draven, was correct. And this guy's a bell cow.
Whoa, we never want to focus on that. Take that.
No. Jason deserves his due right now. I'm telling you, Jason called this one. He is a bell cow there. 23 carries, 100 yards. The Miami front seven is solid. They run a solid defense, and he still ended up, carrying the workload for them there. Now, Belichick does his things, and he could, completely doghouse Damian Harris like, what was his name way back in the day? Rush for 250. Jonas Gray. He could Jonas Gray Damian Harris, but I just don't see that happening. I think they like Damian Harris, and they want him to get his confidence back. So they're going to turn around. They're going to feed him against this Jets defense, which allowed McCaffrey to cover the 74.5 line with both running and receiving alone. So, Harris isn't McCaffrey, but he's going to be eaten nonetheless. So I think that this is a pretty solid line to get him over at here.
Right.
You know who else fumbled in that game? Ramondre Stevenson. So if he's going to be in the doghouse too, who else are you going to give the ball to?
Right, exactly. There's just
J.J. Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? They're going to go and get somebody from 7-Eleven and be like, hey, dude,
right.
You want to run the ball for us?
Yep.
And make it work. So secondly here, I have the LASIK Winston with over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
That's right.
It's not a typo. It is 1.5 passing touchdowns. You can go to Underdog and check it out. The story of week 1 had to have been Winston's just miraculous, ability to find everybody open for touchdowns, but get absolutely no yardage somehow. Mm-hmm. He had 5 touchdowns this last week. I mean, one of them was kind of a schemed up jet pass that went for a touchdown. And I think that that's a good thing for Winston. He's got a smart coach in Sean Payton. Sean Payton's aggressive in the red zone. He poured it on Green Bay last week. And I think that, are we going to continue to see 4+ touchdowns a week from Winston? No, I mean, probably not. But 2? I think 2 is very reasonable. I think they scheme up 2 in their sleep. Right. So I think that this is a very reasonable
especially considering when you've got Alvin Kamara there. I mean, it's very possible they're at the 5 and you've got a screen pass.
Exactly.
That's a touchdown. So.
Kamara is a walking big play. And so they have these built-in looks that just what can get him, both yardage and touchdowns. So lastly, I have Cooper Kupp. I love Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's one of my favorite players in the league, full disclosure. I love the way that he plays. Last week, he absolutely hit the ground running, 7 for 10, 108, and a touchdown against the Bears. And then he actually led that offense in target shares with 38.5%. That's absolutely insane. And when this offense was cooking last week, they were really going. And he was the reason why. So this week, I see him doing a lot of what Tyler Lockett did to the Colts because they both played the Colts.
Yes.
So Lockett went 4 for 5, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 25 yards per reception. That's absolutely asinine. And I think that Cooper Kupp is just kind of a shoe-in for the fact that it's only 70.5 yards is a little disrespectful to Cooper Kupp after doing what he did last week, and after seeing what Lockett did to Indy this last week, I think that this is quite possibly be the easiest number to hit all week.
All right, I like it. Comment going back to what we had before. Gil wants to know, half PPR, would you go Chase Claypool or Laviska Shenault, who we were talking about before this, looking for upside and the highest possible ceiling? What do you guys think?
I would probably just go with Claypool. If you're talking about upside, I mean, he can. There's so many opportunities in this game. There will be a lot of opportunities in this game for a long play with Claypool. Again, this Raiders secondary is not good. There's going to be a lot of holds. I think it's just a much better matchup. Shenault is going up against the Denver defense that could possibly have the best secondary in the league once we get to the end of the season. So I'll take Claypool.
Yeah, I'm a big Laviska guy, but I'm with you there as well. Again, the key here, I think, is if you're just asking straight up, like, which player do I like better, it's Shenault. But for upside and you're looking for highest possible ceiling, that has to be Claypool. He can hit those 80-yard touchdowns, and then you've cashed for the week. Whereas Shenault makes his bread and butter by catching, 8-9 receptions for 4 yards apiece. Like, that's going to be his day.
Right.
He's a PPR monster. But in half PPR,
it might be tough.
It's difficult.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement there. Yes, we're going with that Claypool over Shenault.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
but Gil, you can go and get Laviska Shenault for a half rushing yard. Go take that to the bank. A half rushing yard at your local sports book.
You could do it. All right. So I'm up, and these are my 3 for the week. I'm going David Montgomery, Monty, for the combined 86.5 rush plus receiving yards. So total yards, I'm taking the over there. He has reached over that mark in 9 of his last 11 games. He's hit that consistently. In that span, his average has been 114.1 total yards. And he's going up against a Bengals defense that has given up over 86.5 yards to a running back in 14 of their last 17 games. That's unbelievable. Like, not only have they done that in 14 of their last 17 games, but there was a game last year when they gave it up to both Dobbins and Lamar Jackson, and another game when they gave up that many yards to both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So there have been games when they've given up multiple running back or just skill position players over 86.5 rush yards. So to me, that's a slam dunk. Darren Waller under 7.5 receptions is the only one that I'm kind of iffy about on this list. And the reason I'm going with the under is because it's such a big number. Like, Darren Waller has hit over 7.5 receptions in 4 of his last 6 games. But before this hot stretch that he's been on, he was only able to achieve that mark in 2 of his previous 11. And the biggest thing here for me is he's going up against a very good Steelers defense. In the last year, the Steelers have only given up more than 7.5 receptions, so 8+ receptions, to Stephon Diggs twice, Cole Beasley, Travis Fulgham, of all people, when it started the Travis Fulgham season, and then J.D. McKissick against Washington and Logan Thomas. Logan Thomas is the only tight end, you'll note, on that list. And I know that Waller is a different kind of beast, and it's hard to, put him in with other tight ends, but guys they have faced in the last year, I said Logan Thomas got to 9 receptions, but they faced Austin Hooper twice, Mark Andrews twice, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Evan Ingram, Jonnu Smith. It's not like they're playing slouches at the tight end position. They just don't give up those yards and receptions over the middle. So again, love Waller. Can he get to 6 receptions? Certainly. Can he get to 7? Maybe. I think getting to 8 is just a little bit of a stretch, because if I'm that defense, I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm trying to shut them down by stopping Darren Waller. They know that's where the offense is going to go. Beat me with anybody else. And then last and certainly not least, I will ride this train into the ground until they make me stop, until they set it at a reasonable number. Jalen Hurts over 300.5 total yards. I had him last week at over 283.5. They then removed it from the board because they were getting so much action on it. Before the start of kickoff on Sunday, they had actually upped it to 311. I took the over again, and it still hit.
Nice.
So the Jalen Hurts number is just so ridiculous. Adding in last week to the numbers that I already talked about, in his now 4 starts in his young career, he has averaged 277.8 passing yards alone and 75 rushing yards per game. So in his 4 career starts, he is averaging 352.8 total yards. So Jalen Hurts for me will continue. And you're welcome, Gil. You're welcome. All right, so let's see what we've got now. Those are all of our individual picks. So guys, what are we going with our locks? Vishaal, what is your lock of the week?
Let's go with the Mark Ingram under 39.5 rushing yards.
Yep.
Every year, every week 1, we always look back and there's always some performance that we say that was
Some
an anomaly.
anomaly.
That just doesn't make any sort of sense. And I have a feeling that it's going to be Mark Ingram this year. It's just, I don't think he's going to come anywhere close to 26 carries for 80+ yards again this season. So I'm going to take the under as my lock.
Mason, what do you got?
I hit it pretty hard on the head there right at the end of my little spiel, but I'm going to go Cooper Kupp over 70.5. That's just a gimme. When he has 38.5% of the targets, that's like just built-in production. And against a defense that literally was just throttled by a very, also talented and similar receiver like Tyler Lockett, I think that's a gimme.
Yeah. I will agree with that. Also, I'm noting here that on our favorites list, since the time I put in my ticket a little while ago, they have already moved the Waller line down to 6.5 receptions. So apparently,
big movement.
They were getting some good action on that. So I feel good that I got in on that early.
Trendsetter.
Exactly. So you probably don't want to follow my card now because that's right, like I think in the sweet spot. But I'm going to go with the David Montgomery. Like I said, Monty has been hot. that Bengals defense is hot trash. So, I mean, that's two hots. That's an inferno. I'll take that all day, every day. So there you go. There's our ticket. You guys can play along with us this week. I will share this on the Nonsense FF on Twitter. We appreciate you guys watching and following along. And until next week, enjoy football.